Now at 4:30, our coverage continues after a mistrial was declared in the Palisades fire arson trial. The high-profile case coming to an abrupt end after jurors couldn't come to a unanimous decision.
Jonathan Rinderknecht faced 3 arson counts in connection with the January 2025 wildfires. The jury split, 10 not guilty, 2 for guilty. The judge set the next trial for October 19th. Rinderknecht will remain in custody.
NBC4's Amber Frias live right now in downtown L.A. with how local leaders are responding to all of this. Amber.
Colleen, Carolyn, the overall sentiment we heard from officials that we spoke with is that while this is disappointing, it doesn't mean that the search for answers is over. In fact, they say that this case, this mistrial, is just part of the journey towards accountability. More than a year after the Palisades fire changed the lives of thousands, the federal arson case has ended in a mistrial, leaving one of the biggest questions about the case unanswered. Los Angeles City Council member Tracy Park, whose district includes Pacific Palisades, called the outcome disappointing for a community still searching for accountability.
We still don't have a complete record about what happened or didn't happen.
Park also says significant questions remain about what happened between January 1st, when Jonathan Rinderknecht is accused of igniting a fire later dubbed the Lockman Fire near the Skull Rock trailhead, and January 7th, when investigators say the fire reignited and grew into the Palisades fire.
These are questions that have long been on the minds of the fire survivors and their families and loved ones, certainly conversations that we've had across city leadership. And frankly, these are still the subject of multiple ongoing investigations.
Los Angeles City Council member and mayoral candidate Nithya Raman also responded to the mistrial.
But I know that this must be an extraordinarily painful moment for people who are in the Palisades, who are looking for accountability.
We asked Raman about the city's emergency preparedness following concerns raised by many people after the fire.
We need to be, as a city, much more careful about how we're preparing for emergencies in the future.
Mayor Karen Bass declined an interview but released a statement that said in part, quote, "From the start, I had called for transparency and an unyielding search for the truth. As the prosecutors consider next steps, I will always stand firmly with the Palisades community," end quote. And with prosecutors planning to retry the case and still ongoing investigations, again, leaders we spoke with say the search for answers and accountability is far from over. Reporting live from downtown LA, Amber Frias, NBC4 News.
Amber, thank you for that. Now, the announcement about a mistrial causing some strong reaction in the Palisades. Most of this community still rebuilding and recovering from the fires last January. NBC4's Keenan Willard joins us now. Keenan, they are still frustrated about the lack of accountability here?
And Colleen, you can imagine why the emotions that are brought up from a day like this in a community where almost everyone either lost their home or knows somebody who did in those wildfires of January last year. And really the sense that we're getting talking to people living in this area, whether they lost their home or not, is this emotion of frustration, whether that's because they believe this case, this criminal proceeding, really won't amount to much after all the devastation here in the Palisades, or because they feel somebody needs to be held responsible.
I hope they retry him and that we have a more definitive outcome.
I consider the people running the city the real negligent source of this response to the fire.
Mixed feelings in Pacific Palisades today after a roadblock in the trial of the man accused of starting the Palisades fire. A jury was unable to reach a verdict in the arson case against Jonathan Rinderknecht, leading a mistrial to be declared.
I saw that on the news.
How does that make you feel?
I don't think it was his fault.
Some in the Palisades told us they feel the case shouldn't be retried. They say they watched the trial, and there's no clear evidence that Rinderknecht started the fire. And even if he did, they blame the LA Fire Department for the flames breaking out of control after smoldering for 6 days.
Felony arson, not a chance. I remember hearing fireworks that night. I don't believe there was any proof that he started anything.
I think that the fire department mishandled it, and they should have made sure that the fire was out, and they didn't.
Others feel differently. After being forced from their homes for months and seeing their community burn, they hope the government keeps the case against Rinderknecht alive.
I feel that this gentleman did start the fire. and there were consequences to what he did.
This is just another hammer blow, and it's not fair, but it's the process. So we hope the prosecutors are not just blowing air and that they really are going to come back and do something.
Strong feelings being brought up here in the Pacific Palisades today. We'll continue following the community's reaction to this mistrial announcement. In Pacific Palisades, Keenan Willard, NBC4 News.
Keenan, thank you. Our coverage of the mistrial continues on the NBC4 News at 5. You can also get the very latest on our website and at NBCLA.com and the NBCLA app.